to Fearless Friday, your day to reclaim your weekend and your life. How many of you have gone about your day and made strides towards a goal only to fall back? Now there's the old adage, one step forward, two steps back. Well, those of us in transition, which is pretty much all of us, we tend to figure out what our goals are and figure out, yes, this is what I want in life. And we start to move towards that goal only to falter and take a few steps back. And then we regroup and then we move forward again. And then we falter and move back. And then it's this cycle. And I spoke about, last week about this cycle of getting caught up in our thoughts and those 60,000 thoughts that we have a day. Well, this past Wednesday for the What's Up Wednesday call, I spoke extensively about how when we focus on these little small mundane petty little thoughts that all of us have, how much that can weight us down and also how much it can occupy our time. Many times with my clients, I hear, but Flora, I just don't have time to, bring this into my life or bring this spiritual practice into my life or do this or I really don't have time to do those things that I really want to do. And the truth is we actually do have time to do those things that really matter to us. However, because our lives are so filled with these tiny little things, and I say petty, but I don't mean that in a bad way or negative connotation. It's these small little petty things that in the grand scheme of things really don't matter. Now, yes, there are small things that matter, like putting a note in someone's lunchbox or sending them a little text on, hi, wishing you a fabulous day. And those little things do matter. So I'm not talking about those little things. I'm talking about, focusing on those little petty things that really don't matter. Like your neighbor parking in the wrong way on the street or something. And so you call the city, oh, so-and-so is parked on the wrong side of the street. That's petty stuff. I'm talking about all those things that, all that stuff, all this petty little stuff that when we focus on that throughout the day, it takes up all of our time and all of our energy. And so when you think about moving forward in your life and moving towards your goal and what you really want, and then thinking, well, I really want that and that's all fine and dandy, but I don't have time to do it. How can I do it? How can I go towards my goal and keep moving forward without faltering backwards? Now the key is to give yourself a break, okay, and know that all of us, no matter how focused and diligent we work towards our goal, all of us take one step forward and two steps back. That's part of living, that's part of life, that's okay. But the key is to not let yourself get eaten up by these little petty things and not let yourself feel overwhelmed by all these little tiny things, because there are a lot of little tiny things, and that's one of the reasons why I constantly try to clear out clutter in my life and clear out those non-essentials, because those non-essentials can really weight you down. I mean, not just in your spiritual practice and in your relationships and everything, all facets of your life. One of the things that I mentioned in my What's Up Wednesday call is I've packed up almost all of my possessions except for the ones that I'm currently using for my work and then, in the evening or early morning time. And I've recently put all those boxes into storage. And the funny thing is I don't miss a whole lot of it. Now, there are some books that I do miss and some crystals, but those crystals I've actually managed to take out and have with me. But it's really interesting that those are those things that I felt like, oh, I need to pack these up and I need to get these all ready to go because I'm moving and all these other things. But I don't really miss a whole lot. of the stuff that's in there. So it's going to be interesting when I do unpack those boxes to see what I choose to keep and what I choose to sell or donate to Goodwill or whatever. But going back to these little tiny things, physical possessions can weight you down. Those little tiny petty things about the neighbor parking on the random side of the street, that's something petty. The key is to focus on what you want to focus on, what you want in life. So, we've been talking about, getting rid of those things that really don't matter and figuring out what I do want in life. What do you want in life? And getting really clear about what you want and why you want it. And then be able to articulate that to the people in your life and be willing to speak and stand and stay in your truth no matter how uncomfortable it gets. And yes, when we speak our truth, life can get chaotic because people are so used to you being a certain way and so used to you being with their norm and working around their wants and needs that when you start to say, well, this is what I choose, this is what I want in my life, and switching it from an I need to an I want, because the I need sometimes has a burden feeling to it where it's kind of heavy, like, oh, I need to balance my checkbook. Well, do you want to balance your checkbook? It's a privilege to have money in a checkbook to balance. Think of it as a positive thing. But many times when we start to bring out self-care to ourselves and saying, I care enough about myself to move towards my goals, then sometimes life can get chaotic and you kind of, for lack of a better term, a shitstorm happens, but once that settles, once you start to continue to move forward and move towards your goals, then you start to see with clarity of, wow, I really feel good. This feels good to live in my authentic truth. And one of the ways that we can do that is to use that emotional guidance skill that I spoke about several weeks ago, is noticing what comes up as you're speaking your truth and standing in your truth, and feel that pressure or that heartache or that sadness or that joy or the exuberance, and feel the emotions and really, really get into it. Even if it sucks, feel it, because when you feel those emotions, that's when you can get that huge amount of clarity that comes with it. And what happens is when we feel things but try to stuff them down and start to focus on all these other random little petty whatnots, then life seems to feel really chaotic. And many times people will start to have a crisis of faith, saying, what the hell am I even doing here? Why am I doing what I'm doing? Why? What does it all matter if these big, companies are poisoning our food, or there's chemtrails or all these other little random little conspiracy theories that go on, which are really huge things. And then also these little petty things like the neighbor parking on a random side of the street. All these things can weight you down. And if you choose to focus on all those things, of course, you're not going to have any time at all to make your life the best that it can be and to live that fearlessly inspired life. So the key is to just get rid of all that stuff, get off of that social bandwagon of, well, let's picket this or, protest this. And well, yes, those are good causes, but for the meantime, focus on what you want in life. What do you really want to get out of life? What do you really want to be fulfilled in? What facet of your life? Now, really think about this, because if you continue to bleed out all of your attention and all of your focus and all these little petty things and all these major things that is really that social bandwagon at the moment, you're losing sight of what really matters. You're losing sight of your authenticity, your life, your essence, your light that only you have. Now, yes, there are people who can make a difference in these big causes because that's what their purpose is. But until you get really clear about your life and what you really truly want, you're not going to know what it is if you're too scattered. The key is to focus on what you really truly want in life and really allow yourself to get rid of all this clutter, all all these little tiny little things that can weight you down, that can cause you to move one step forward and then 2 steps back. And the more that you focus on what you really truly want and get really clear in it and allow yourself to move through the process with grace, know that speaking and standing and staying in your truth can cause a shitstorm. That's okay. Be ready for it. And it may not happen. People may embrace you and go, finally, you're living true to yourself. Jeez, it's about time. You know, I've heard that a number of times in my life. And when you allow yourself to feel the feelings that come up as you're standing in your truth and own those feelings and know that sometimes it can be a little hard, but then also times it can be fabulous. And then continue to move through those and focus, continue to focus on what you want and continue to focus on your goals. I think the latest numbers that I have read is that only 7% of the population have written their goals down. And only 3% review those goals daily. And those 3% are the most successful people on the planet. So, what are your goals? What are your goals? Think about that. What are your goals in life? What do you really want to get out of life? What do you want to get out of your spiritual practice? And why? And when you can answer that, when you can say, what do I really want to get out of life? Because if you don't really know what you want to do or what you want to get out of life, it's just like driving a car and not knowing where you're going. You just see this really big map and you go, okay, I'll just kind of go where I go and see where I, see what I see. And, that's all fine and dandy sometimes. But every once in a while, you're going to be lost and you're not going to have a gas station and you're going to be like, my car is empty and I need gas and whatever. So it's really helpful and very beneficial if you have an end in mind, if you have a goal and you say, I want to see Mount Kilimanjaro, or I want to see Mount Rushmore, or I want to go see the ocean. Okay, well, which ocean? Where do you want to go? Okay, so having broad goals is great. Then start to narrow it down. Okay, which ocean do you want to see? West Coast, East Coast, Atlantic, Pacific, which ocean? And then start to fine tune it and whittle it down and say, okay, this is where I want to go. And, this is something that if you allow yourself, as I was speaking, just briefly, if you allow yourself to feel the weight of these little petty things and these huge things, and you feel that weight and you take it on and focus on all these things, instead of focusing on what really matters to you, life can really eat your lunch, really eat you for lunch. And so I really recommend that this week, I challenge you this week to make note of all these little things that you're paying attention to and how much time that's taking up. Then pay attention to your goals. Ask yourself, do I have goals? What do I want to get out of life? What do I want to get out of my business? What do I want to get out of my relationships? What do I want to get out of my work? What do I want to get out of this or that or whatever? What do I want to feel? What do I want to experience? And when you say, well, I want to feel good, I want to feel happy. Okay, well, what does that look like? What does feeling happy look like? What activities are happy to you? What activities make you happy or make you feel good? And start to just drill down and question yourself. And this is something that the more clear that you can get with yourself, the more clear you can get with how you focus your attention during the day. Is you can say, is this in alignment with what I want? Is this making me happy? Okay, no. Well, then why am I choosing to do it? Is this moving me closer to that end result that I want? If not, ask yourself, why am I choosing to do this? So many people multitask. I think that is the worst way that you can spend your day, is multitasking. Because even though people say they multitask, they really are not. They're just doing a bunch of things and they're, you know, half-assing it. They're just, you know, doing this for a minute and this for a minute and this for a minute and this for a minute, and most of the time it's crap. And if you stop and focus 5 minutes on this, you can get it done. Great, perfect. And then put it out there and then do this, and then focus on this and focus on this and focus on this. You'll notice that if you spend one block of time focusing on something, even if it's 5 minutes or 2 minutes or 50 minutes or 15 minutes, all of a sudden you can say, oh, well, I got that done, and that's, wow, yay, now I can move on to something else. And then you won't feel as scattered. That's how we start to, and that's how we learn to focus on all this little petty stuff, is multitasking. And we've seen it on TV, we've seen it with our parents. They try to do 50 different things all at once, and it never works. You know, you do complete things, but they're kind of half-assed. I mean, admit it. I've been there, and I'm like, not my best work, but sorry. That's when you can stop and say, let me regroup and do this again. So this week I challenge you to pay attention to where your energy is. Pay attention to all those little whatnots that are weighting you down, that are just causing you to feel overwhelmed and scattered. And ask yourself, what is really important to me at this point in my life? I speak about balance and harmony, and I don't want this video to be too terribly long, but balance versus harmony. And I've got a whole class on this actually, but balance is very rigid and very just narrow, and you don't have a whole lot of room to falter. You think of a balance beam. Harmony is like a band. You know, one thing is going to be in the spotlight. Let's just say that there's a trumpet solo, and the other things are going to be all playing in harmony behind it. And that's just like one thing in your life may take center stage for a time, and then other things will just kind of be on the back burner, just kind of being there when you're ready. So think of your life as being a band and being very harmonious, and try to allow your life to be more in harmony than in balance and very rigid like this. So, you know, this week I really, really challenge you to really pay attention to what's going on in your life, all the energy, and ask yourself, what do I really need to be focusing on right now? And it could be, like for me, I'm focusing on my divorce and moving into a home. Those are my two things that I'm focusing on mainly, okay? The other things that I'm focusing on, my children, my business, my pets, my self-care. And these are these things that, yes, some things are getting more attention than others, but I'm allowing myself to focus on those things that matter and not these other little outside petty things. So, I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have, please subscribe to my channel so you won't miss one single episode of Fearless Friday. If you've loved it, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends on Facebook and Twitter. Then head on over to my website, florapeterson.com, and join in on the discussion below the video and let me know what you thought of this video. Please also, while you're there, sign up so you will get free tools and tips on how to help you live a fearlessly inspired life. Until next week, bye-bye.